Hello, and welcome to Mind Your Head, a space for people to share their stories, talk openly and honestly about their own mental health challenges, and to give some listeners some comfort in knowing you're not alone. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we record this podcast, the Gubbi Gubbi people. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Indigenous peoples. We honour their enduring connection to the land, waters and culture, and recognise their invaluable contributions they make to our communities. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. This episode is proudly supported by True Protein. Use the code MindYourHead at the checkout to score $25 off your next order. This episode is brought to you by TLC Recovery Centre on the Sunshine Coast. Head to TLC Sunshine Coast, use the code TLC15MYH to receive 15% off and experience it for yourself. Welcome to Mind Your Head, mate. It's such a pleasure to have you on today. As we spoke off camera, big fan of your work and your content came across my algorithm, which is nice to see. And I think I mentioned to you before that I was just starting out my own breathwork journey. So I'm stoked to have you on today and get a little insights of the work that you do and also a little bit about your upbringing and how did you get into this space as well.
Beautiful. Thanks for having us, brother.
That's right, brother. I'd like to begin with your childhood. You mentioned off camera you're one of 12. I'd love to know sort of your experiences growing up and your family dynamic.
Yes, 1 of 12. So third oldest of 12 kids. I have 6 brothers, 5 sisters. My 2 older brothers are twins. Then I'm the third, and then I have 5 sisters, and then I have 4 younger brothers. So the age gap between the oldest to the youngest, I'm pretty sure it's 15 years. Yeah. My youngest brother's 14 years younger than me. All of my family live in Brisbane. I grew up in Brisbane. We were all born in Brisbane, except for my 2 older brothers, it's the craziest thing. They're Blues, like, fans. But they literally were born in Sydney and they left, like, when they were 1.
Oh, so they think they're diehard.
Yes, it's crazy. But both my parents are from Tonga.
Yeah.
My mum is from the Northern Islands, a group of islands called Vava'u, and then my dad is from the main island, Tongatapu. And then I remember asking my dad, how did he get here? And he literally cut me on a boat.
He did?
Yeah. Came over here on a boat. Yeah.
What was like your childhood growing up with the 12? Was there, was a lot of rivalries going up?
Yeah, I guess, the world has changed a lot.
Yeah.
And when I grew up in the 80s, right? So born in 83, my brothers were born in 82. And growing up back at that time, we grew up in a 3-bedroom housing commission house. There was a public school that was across the road from where I grew up. When we first moved there was like no fences. So like it was... Like, if you ever saw photos from back in those days, all of the houses, if you especially go to any area west of any main city, a lot of the houses look very similar. So, like, they were brick, modular houses. We lived in one of those. Our next door neighbours, it was all housing commission where we lived. I told a story yesterday about how when we were younger, my parents, the school sent us back home because we didn't speak English. And it was like, when your kids can speak English, that's when they can come back. And the reason why I was telling that story is because a lot of the time Australia doesn't realise that when you strip these things, these natural parts of who, any ethnic or cultural person is, away from them, especially our language, it takes away from our identity. The challenge is that picking up your native tongue is extremely hard.
Yeah, I bet.
Right? So that's what it was like growing up.
Did you feel like you lost a little bit of your identity growing up?
Oh, you know what's interesting? Because Australia is it was predominantly white Australia where we grew up in. So I think I grew up, I didn't really understand racism because our next door neighbours, we grew up as like family together since like I was born. Anyway, we called their mum up until like our whole lives. We still spend every Christmas, every birthday together,
nice.
Right? Yeah. Their daughter bought, because my parents never really celebrated birthdays or Christmases when we were growing up. Yeah. So their daughter actually bought all of us kids, all of our presents for our birthdays, for Easters, for Christmas.
I love that.
Our whole lives.
Yeah, right.
Until like I become an adult and I didn't really need any presents anymore.
Yeah.
But that's sort of like what it was like for us growing up. It was, look, my dad, as long as I've known him, he's been a farmer. I've never actually known my dad to have a normal job. So my parents are from Tonga. We grew up in housing commission. My dad's always been a farmer. My dad still farms. He still sells produce at the Woodridge markets in Brisbane.
Does he really?
Every Sunday.
Loves it.
Every Sunday, that's where you'll find him.
What does he farm?
All Polynesian vegetables.
Oh, right.
Sweet potatoes, yams, taro.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, cassava. Yeah.
Were they some of your favourite memories?
Growing up, I guess, when you say favorite memories, like those memories, it was just a very different time. Like these are memories that you just never forget. Like imagine growing up with basically like the neighborhood, right? Just imagine growing up. And I remember when my sisters were born, it was 1 sister, 2 sister, 3 sister, 4 sisters, 5 sisters. And when it got to my youngest sister, I thought, man, we're outnumbered. Right? And then they had my little brother George, and then they had my brother John, and then they had my brother Duff. And then I was like, man, this is never going to end.
What's going on here?
Yeah. And then they got to my younger brother Adam, and then I think my mum just told my dad, no more. That's it, no more.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is there any pivotal moments from your childhood that taught you about resilience, whether it be good or bad moments?
I think my whole life has become resilience in the sense of, if you grow up, imagine being the only coloured family in a white community in your school, not understanding racism, but then experiencing racism. So there's resilience that has to come out of that. My brothers are twice the size of me. So like out of all 7 of us boys, like I'm the smallest one.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so like when I was younger, like my brothers used to give me hidings all the time.
Did they?
And what I've come to realize as an adult was it wasn't because they wanted to beat on me. It's like if they wanted something, that was their communication style.
Oh, right.
Like if you've got something that I want,
right,
I'm going to punch you in the guts if you don't give it to me, right? And if I punch you, then you're just going to give it to me, right? And because they're twice the size of me, it wasn't really something that I could compete with.
Yeah, it wasn't fair.
Yeah, so the rivalry kind of come from me, growing up wanting to get something for myself.
How bad did the racism get? Was there moments?
Oh man, I think racism, it's changed into adult life.
Yeah. Like how so?
As in, it's very subtle.
Yeah.
Like I went to go pick my son up from school the other day, and when I got out of my car and I walked on the pathway, the lady that was in front of me just happened to start walking faster.
Oh, right. That's the stuff.
Sometimes when I jump in the elevator, somebody, they might clench their handbags. Just, right? So I literally was having this conversation the other day that these are things I experience on a regular basis, but I never talk about them because like I never want to feed into it.
No.
But as a young boy, racism was like, it was pretty strong. And I guess in terms of Australia, and especially for young people, when you get upset with somebody, you will go for, and just like anybody, you'll go for the easiest thing. So if you're overweight, I'll go for you for your fat. If you're coloured, I'll go for you for your colour, right? If you are of a different race, I'll go for you for your race.
For sure. I've got a good mate of mine who's Aboriginal, and I had him on the podcast, and I asked him about being Aboriginal. We're from the sunny coast.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't see many Aboriginals on the sunny coast. Like, am I not in the, are my eyes not open and like aware? And he's like, nah, there isn't too many of us on the sunny coast. I was like, well, what was it like playing footy? Like, we played in the same team, and you got your blinders on, like because you don't experience it, your eyes aren't open to it. Kind of like what you've experienced, like the subtle racism. And he said the same thing to me. Like you go into a store and they're mentally like sort of assuming that you're going to steal something or you can't afford something. Like, he would go to the store when he was a kid to buy something, and then they would say to him, you can't, like, what are you going to pay for that? He's like, I got money. They're like, oh, like they were surprised that he was like the subtle stuff. And I was like, man, I never saw it. And he was like, yeah, it's okay that you never saw it. Like your eyes weren't open to it. This is the little things that we experience like on the daily.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man. And it wasn't until like I looked back at things, and it wasn't until we had that conversation that I'm so much more aware of my surroundings and how people are treating each other. That's what I've clued onto it. And I was like, there is so much subtle racism going around that none of us know anything about.
I was thinking, like, there's little things that I do that probably you never have to do. Like, always smile because it allows other people to feel comfortable.
Right.
Right. And I guess like I have a thinking face, and the thinking face might also look similar to my angry face. Right. So it might make people feel intimidated.
Yeah.
Or I noticed yesterday I was walking with my son, and I think the people in front of me didn't they were pushing a pram. And then when they looked up, because I guess, we always give right away to women, elderly, and children. When they looked up, I guess because they had a pram, it's like, we've got right away. And when they looked up, I got a baby attached to me. No, we the same. Does this make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of, I noticed that. I'm like, okay, if I don't have my wife with me, if I don't have children attached to me, and if I'm not smiling, right, it makes people feel a certain way.
Is that tiring?
I don't think about it because I'm thinking about other things.
Okay.
Right. So, but you do become aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm also not out there to try and put people off either.
No, of
right?
course not.
So,
but I can't imagine constantly. I know you say you don't think about it, but it's happened for so long. I couldn't imagine constantly having to change, not who I am, but almost put on not a front either, but making sure other people feel comfortable around me, even though you're the nicest human being in the world.
Well, I think if you think about it in terms of energetics, if I chose to express myself a different way, then that would attract a different kind of energy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is, it's the safest way to move is one, but two, it's the nicest way to move, right? Like it's the way that I'm going to be able to attract and influence my experience of life the way that I want to experience life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And my assumptions are, you've been through a lot of struggles yourself to get to where you are today. I think a lot of us don't go through life without any sort of hardship or struggles, and to become resilient. I'd love to talk about those times with you if that's all right, and sort of get into some of your darkest chapters in your life. And how did you get through them?
Okay. Where do we start?
Where do you want to start?
Well, geez. One thing I talk about is that have you ever watched Once Were Warriors?
Yes, many times, yeah.
Growing up, when I very first time saw that, I thought, oh, that's our home. This is our life. This is like the way that we live. And when I saw that, I had no desire to go to New Zealand.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, why would I go there when I already experienced that over here? Right? And that's probably the nicest way that I could explain what growing up in my household was like. Right? So sort of think about 80s. This was back when hitting your kids was acceptable.
Was it to that extent?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Right? And I'm just like, I don't know if people ever, really sort of think about, and we hear about this, people will never know the amount of wars that you've had to go through to experience as much peace as you have, right? That's definitely what my experience has been, right? To have gone through that much pain, to be able to get and live life the way that I do now. So that's definitely, what my childhood was. And I ended up having a falling out with my father when I became older. I don't know, it was almost 20 years ago now. But that changed the trajectory of my life. That's how I ended up on the Gold Coast.
Really?
Yeah, the falling out was like, I've actually got to leave.
Yeah.
I've actually got to move, and I moved to the Gold Coast, and I've been here ever since.
Was that a turning point for you?
I've had many turning points
Have
in my
you?
life.
Yeah,
That was one of them.
That was one of them.
Yeah.
What is your relationship like with your father now?
It was great. So like eventually I repaired. So I moved here December 2008. January 2015, my dad actually came. I went home for New Year's, and I was talking to him, and my dad would always ask me lots of questions, and he said, "Son, I need to lose some weight. What do I need to do?" And I said, "You know what, Dad, I actually don't have the time to come back here, but if you come down and see me, you can stay with me. I'll look after you. I will feed you. I will train you, right? That's how I can help you." And he started to come down, and he was coming down every day for about a month. We lost about 15 kilos in 2 weeks. And in that time, the very first session that we did, I lived on Orchard Avenue. So above the nightclubs. And I worked at Circle on Cavill. There's a gym there. It used to be called Anytime Fitness, but now it's EMF. We just needed to walk that one block. My dad couldn't even walk that one block.
Really?
We got just past the train tracks. My dad stopped and he said, "Son, we're walking too fast." He had a walker at that time, right? And he had so much weight that there was so much chafe, right? It was starting to, I guess, wear away his skin. So we went through that process. He lost 15 kilos. We built a relationship. The reason why I was so adamant about helping him was because the previous year, he had gout to the point where it was piercing through his skin. The uric acid was leaking through his skin. And I just thought to myself, because I live down here and health and fitness is what I do for a living, I'm just like, man, is somebody going to help him? So this was my way of helping him. So what I would do was every morning before we went out, he'd come, I'd bathe his feet, I'd wash his feet. We would go over to the gym. I would train him. We'd go have breakfast or we'd have lunch. And then we would talk and I would ask him questions. And I got to know my father through that time and we got to rebuild a relationship. And
I love that. It's beautiful. Was there a lot of, I guess, or a part of you where...
I wouldn't even say rebuild because we didn't have a relationship.
Yeah.
Like in terms of man to man or even like parent to child. It's just like, he's the dad, I'm the child, you do whatever I say. That's what it is. Yeah.
Was there a point where there was a lot of forgiving that you had to do?
Yeah, 100%. I guess the way I sort of looked at it was if I was to ever have my, I guess, try to get back, right, what I ever experienced, I felt like that would just make me a bully.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I'm just like, that doesn't make me any better. So I just decided to make peace with it. I'm like, let me get to know this man.
And that's, I guess that's a similar experience that I had with my father as well, where I always looked up to him in terms of, there was always like that authority figure. I was always scared. You know, I was always afraid a little bit of him. And it wasn't until he came on this podcast where he had a really, really abusive childhood growing up in New Zealand. I guess similar to Once a Warriors, really.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, sexual abuse. You know, one of the worst childhoods that I had ever heard about. And I did not know this about my dad for years. Never spoke about it. I never knew my aunties and uncles, never knew my cousins on dad's side. Like, didn't know anything about it. And it was always weird to me. I was growing up and I always felt strange that, like, you look around to mates and then they would be hanging out with their grandparents or their cousins. And I'm thinking, man, like, why don't we do that with us? Like, why is that? Why don't we? No one talks about it. And I kept my personal battles to myself as well. So when I asked Dad to come to the podcast last year, I made him a deal. I said, you tell me everything about your childhood and I'll tell you everything that I went through. And for the first time, I think Dad's 70 years old. And I think for the very first time in his life, he sat down and talked about his childhood and, like, actually, and that, what you said about your dad and actually understanding him and getting to know him as a man and as a person.
Yeah.
Because for so long, like, I was always, you know, the father and son, and I wasn't mates. Like, we weren't friends.
Yeah.
It was always like, I'll do what he says because he told me what to do.
Because that's the time that they come from, right?
Exactly. And it wasn't until, you know, I had Dad on the podcast when I was 32 years old, right? And we could actually sit down as men, right? Not that sort of fathers up here, sons down here, and actually have a proper chat like mates. And he told me everything about his childhood. And for the first time, because when we were growing up, I always wondered why he reacted to certain things, why he got triggered by certain situations. And I was always like, man, why is he like this? Like, why does he get angry by that? And it wasn't until that chat that we had on the podcast where he told me everything. And I vividly remember him telling me about his childhood. But in my head, I said to myself, oh, I get it. Like, I understand. Like, I get it. Like, I understand why you are the way that you are now. Like, anyone that had that upbringing would have done the same thing. Now I think back to all the things that I did or things that happened in our childhood that triggered him, and I would think about that's why it's triggering him. Like, I get, like, he's still dealing with it. I would almost call it like almost a bit of PTSD from his childhood.
100%.
Like some of the things that we talked about was, you know, he asked me, like, why did you struggle not speaking to anyone about your issues, or why'd you always
He asked you this.
Yeah. I go, why didn't you like talk about it to me or to mum and dad or to your brothers? Like, why did you keep it all a secret? And I said to him, because that's how it got modeled to me. So what Dad was saying was his father would beat on and abuse the child who reacted the most. So he always thought whoever reacted the most was the weakest. So Dad, as a 17-year-old, what he learnt was to hide emotions, suppress emotions. Because if you showed emotion, you'll get preyed on. So for Dad's defense mechanism was
no emotion.
No emotion. Yeah. So what he did growing up was he made a few things that he wanted to change when he was a father. So no violence in the house, no drinking, drugs, none of that. And I understand that, absolutely. Like he didn't want, and we had no violence in the house whatsoever. It was a safe and happy household in terms of that. But I think one of the things that we all missed out on was that emotional connection, like sitting down and actually being vulnerable and saying, because Dad was always, yep, I'll handle it. Yep, everything's all good. Yep, no bad days. No, I'm all good. Yeah. Like always just protecting the family because he came from a household that was no protection at all. So he protected us from everything. But there was that emotional connection that we just didn't have.
It's almost like there was an overcorrection.
Almost like an overcorrection. And he said that. Yeah. He said, I think there was moments where I took it too far. Yeah. Where we all grew up in a way that we never saw a healthy conflict or a healthy argument. So if mum and dad had an argument, they would go somewhere else and we would never see it. So unconsciously, I just grew up thinking if I had something wrong or if I got, issues or if I got, questions or, things I want to say or things I want to feel, I got to go somewhere else. I got to hide it somewhere else.
I wouldn't even know how to do it because I've never seen it.
I've never seen it. Yeah, I wouldn't know even where to start.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that I guess bonded us really well in that moment where we understood where not each other went wrong, but you understood where we can mend, where we can get better at, and being more vulnerable with each other. And now the connection that we have with my father is like we're mates. Like we go out and play golf together. Like I'm not afraid to tell him things, whereas before I was really fearful of that. So I understand that connection, like you said, not rebuilding it, but just growing that connection more and actually understanding who that person is. And I always give people that advice because after that episode aired, a lot of people would say, oh man, I've never had that chat with my parents and I never would. And I was like, why not? Like,
well, as you're saying that, what I'm thinking is that it's, I think this is what, a modern day version of rites of passage. Just actually building a relationship with your father as a man.
And getting to know him.
Right? Just actually, because there's a difference between rebuilding implies that it existed before. But it didn't even exist. No. Right? So to bridge the gap between father and son is a rite of passage. And I feel like it's a rite of passage because now the son gets to be seen as a man in his father's eyes. But not only that, the father gets to witness his son is now a grown man. And the body never lies. So like physiology never lies. So even you as the child, we can see that that's what they're seeing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes sense. Yeah. And that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it felt like during that time was what I think Dad could just relax and know that I'm going to be okay.
I think as a parent, that's the thing. That's the thing we want more than anything, right? Because if you think about in terms of integrity as a man, anything that fits under our responsibility, right, is our obligation. That's up to us to take care of. So if anything that's inside of your care hasn't been taken care of, then that falls on you.
Yeah.
So if my child doesn't grow up to be independent and self-sufficient, that says something about me.
Yeah.
Right? I've missed something here. There's something about what I did that doesn't actually work. Question is, what?
What is it?
Right? Yeah. Where did I go wrong? Jeez, it could have been anywhere. Yeah. Especially if you know you're somebody or you're a father that hasn't been paying a lot of attention or you've been absent. You wouldn't even know where to start, patching these holes up.
So when you're obviously you're a father and the things that you went through as a child, and I was just thinking about my dad's childhood and the things that he wanted to correct for when he was a father. Did you go through your own process when you became a father and things that you obviously wanted to change and how you want to father your kids compared to how you were fathered?
100%. Look, when I was on the way here, my daughter, she comes with me everywhere. She does our videography for us. She's in here with us.
Shout out.
And I was talking to her about children, about having children. And I told her a story today that she'd never heard before. And it was about how when her mother fell pregnant and we had an abortion. And she never heard that story. And I was like, okay, so let me, tell you this story. And I told her, look, I become a father at 22. And when you asked about, difficult stories before, my childhood was one. I think the next one after that was when my brother left home when I was maybe like 17. And because I was the third oldest, there was a lot of responsibility that fell on my shoulders. So now he's not there. I got to take on a lot more responsibility, right? And I thought to myself, how could he do that to us about my older brother, right? So eventually when I left home in spectacular fashion. I had a falling out with my father on that night of my 18th birthday party, and I left home that very night.
Really?
You had like 500 people at my birthday party, and then I was on a rampage, right? I had this falling out with my dad and my brother, and I tore my own birthday party apart, right? I'm like, it's over.
You never went back?
Yeah, and I had a fight with my brother, and my brother cracked me one, and I ended up in hospital. And
oh wow,
yeah, I had like 8 stitches, split my lip, and if you can see, there's like a scar, but you can barely see it. But my lip was cut in half. But I moved out that night, and then fast forward, I had a relationship. We were together for like 4 years. Then I met my daughter's mother. We were together for 5 months, and then she fell pregnant. And I was telling my daughter that it wasn't like we were in love. Like, we only just started being together, right? So when her mother had fallen pregnant the second time, I told my daughter about when we decided to try again, and when we decided to try again, a whole bunch of things were happening. Nothing happened, and then we'd eventually split up. And we were still seeing each other for 2 years. And within that 2-year period, she fell pregnant again, but we weren't together. So here I am, and I felt like I'm in the same situation as what I was the first time. I said, but the first time we decided to have you. And how I found out about the first time was I went to the very first bodybuilding comp that I'd ever been to. I didn't compete. I helped one of the guys at our gym. That day, Ronnie Coleman was competing. He was guest posing. He wasn't competing, he was guest posing.
I love Ronnie.
So I come home and I tell her, she's like, how's your day? So me and George, we had the best day. I met Ronnie Coleman because he was testing supplements right next to me, and I didn't even know it was him because it was all black. Anyway, and he's gone on. I thought it was amazing. We've gone home. I told her it was amazing. She goes, I've got some news to tell you. Right? And I'm 21 at this time. And she tells me, and my whole life flashes before my eyes. So eventually, we decide we're going to have my daughter. We separate when she's about 5, 6. She falls pregnant in the 2 years that we're not actually together towards the end of that. And then what I was telling my daughter on the way here, it tore me to pieces, right? It extremely broke my heart because I hated the fact that we were in this position again. We're in the same position and we're not together again. And I'm just like, man, we're repeating history again, right? And I'm like, we're not getting back together. So she ended up making the choice herself to have an abortion, and I cried for a whole day. And it just destroyed the both of us. So having my daughter, I definitely wanted to raise her different to the childhood that I had. As she's grown, it's changed me as a man every single year. But some of those choices, those experiences that I had, the abortion, the separation of the mother of my child, I only had one child for 15 years, right? We told ourselves that we would just get one thing right, and because I come from such a big family, I was like, I know what it's like to come from lots of kids. You don't really get much, or there isn't enough to go around.
Yeah, for sure.
That's probably more so what it is.
Yeah.
So let's just get this one thing right. And that's why I was a father to one child for so long. So to be put in that position, changed me. Coming from a big family, changed me as a father. That whole experience, this whole experience, all of those things changed me as a father.
I've always asked my guests, what are your 3 non-negotiables for living a healthy and full life? For me, it's movement, community, and good nutrition. I've learned that what you fill your body with plays a massive role in how you feel physically and mentally. That's why I use True Protein. They're an Aussie brand doing things the right way. Clean, natural supplements with no artificial additives or fillers. Everything's made in-house in Sydney's northern beaches using the highest quality ingredients sourced from around the world. Whether it's supporting energy, improving focus, or reducing fatigue, their products genuinely help me show up better every single day. And just like Mind Your Head, they live by values I stand by. Be true, be you, and take care of your whole self.
How has it changed you? What has being a father taught you about yourself? Because, you know, I just got married last month, and
congratulations.
Thank you very much. And we've spoken about when to start trying for kids, and we're going on our honeymoon next month. And she was like, "When I come back, I want to be pregnant." And I was like, "Righto." And I've always thought about who I want to be as a father. It's something that I've really taken it seriously probably since I hit 30 and started working on myself. And, you know, I didn't want to pass any of my traumas down to my kids.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt like if I had kids in my 20s, I think it would have been very irresponsible of me because I couldn't even take care of myself.
Yep.
And I was very, even to this day, even all the work that I've done on myself and really finding answers and learning to love myself more than I have ever done before, there's still little bits of me that I'm scared that I'm going to pass things down to my kids.
Well, let me tell you something. You want to know something?
Tell me.
You're going to fail.
Yeah.
We inevitably, as parents, fail. It is inevitable. It is impossible to avoid. The more you avoid it, you'll probably end up with that overcorrection like your father, right? You'll allow the pendulum to swing too far the other way. And the thing is, like, the whole point of life is to live it, right? And it's not about living it recklessly. But if there's anything that I've learned about fatherhood, my daughter's mother and I, we split when she was 6. Now, I don't know if you've seen any of my events, but one of the events that we do is our walks. So our walks are more of our mental health space because I speak into things there that I don't speak into any other space. It's not our mental health space because we say it's our, you know, where that it's a mental health event. What I've found is that a lot of people that are struggling with mental health have had the tendency to want to come to those spaces. And I guess if you're somebody who's starting to work on yourself, for a lot of people, sitting on a couch or a chair, you know, in a room with a stranger or between 4 walls can feel quite confronting, which is why I feel our walks have been, you know, really great for people because it's allowed us to get out to nature. One year, I think it was 2021, my daughter came out on the walk with us, and she did a very first, you know, breathwork session, and at the end of it, I remembered that she was there. My sister was also supporting me as well. So I've got jumped off the rock that I was on and went over to her and I put my hand on her and then she just started bawling her eyes out, right? She just cracked and the emotions started flowing and I'm like processing what could be going on here. You know, she's my daughter. I know her. As a father, I'm a very proactive and a present father. So she's never gone to daycare. I've looked after her. I would take her to school, pick her up from school, I'd look through her after her during the day before she even started school.
I love that.
So that's just, and like now as an adult, she's still with me.
Yeah. She's your best friend.
She is.
Yeah, I love that.
She's
though.
my best little bud.
Yeah.
But what had happened was, I guess, as she was, you know, processing all of those emotions, but more so releasing all of those emotions, I started thinking about like what could be going on here, and I'm like, what are some struggles that my daughter's been through? And I'm just like, nothing. Can only be one thing. The separation between her mother and I. So even though she was 6 when her mother and I separated, her physical body still remembers, right, that there has been a separation. Even though she might not remembered that we split, right, she got here somehow. Right?
She can put 2 together.
Exactly. And as much as she loves her father, there had to have been a breakdown somehow, right? And I guess if you really, really love somebody, you can probably feel really reluctant about, I guess, bringing up those difficult conversations with them, right? Like, why? What happened? All of those things.
They're tough questions to answer.
And in that moment, her body was unpacking all of that. And then I eventually separated myself and I got my sister coming to support because I'd realized what was going on in that moment. So I allowed myself to step away so that we weren't transferring that energy, that she could unpack and process it that herself. What happened after that was, you know, the theme, there's always a theme at these events.
Yeah.
And what I think the theme was women having, you know, experienced some level of disrespect, infidelity, unfaithfulness, right? Being cheated on, that sort of stuff. So at that moment, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to stand in and I'm going to apologize and I'll take responsibility for the breakdown of the relationship between her mother and I and the impact that it's had on my daughter's life, right? But I'm also going to allow that to be, I guess, a representation for the rest of the collective of the women that were there as well.
So was it a men and women's?
Just the women. So we do men's walks, women's
So
walks.
just a women's walk?
Just women, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
How was that received?
Everyone started crying.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, there was about 30 women that were there.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that. We'll definitely touch on the retreats you do because that's something I'm really fascinated with. I feel like you can take so much learning out of suffering.
Yes.
What have you learnt the most out of all the pain and the suffering that you experienced?
You're actually better than what you realize. You're actually stronger than what you realize. And that depending on the way that you embrace the suffering, if you keep on, like, we're either moving, you know, coming from a place of fear or a place of love. We're moving away from fear and moving towards love, either or, you know, on the cause or the effect side of the equation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So when I think about suffering, when you're coming from a place of fear, it hurts. But not only does it hurt, it's like heavy, it's insidious, right? But when you're coming from a place like facing forward, so you got a forward-facing approach, think about like when you're in the hurt locker when you're training, right? Like you might hate it, but you can also love it, right? You can apply that to any other area of your life when you're suffering, right? And when you can find those moments, and maybe you're suffering, right, and you're experiencing you processing trauma, or you're experiencing yourself processing a really difficult situation, right? You're going through some tough stuff, some adversity, and then you change the way that you're facing and you embrace this, right? You're probably going to find a breakthrough moment at that point.
I couldn't agree more because that was the thing that really held me back during the times of my recovery. It was almost like I hated that I was going through it. I looked at myself as a victim. I was like, why? Like, why do I have to keep going through this? Or why, you know, I was asking all these questions like, why do I have to do this for? Like, why me? You know, it was looking at that suffering as the negative, as this like, why is this happening to me?
Yes.
And it wasn't until, you know, to be honest with you, it wasn't until years of playing that role, playing the victim, till I realized, hang on a second, like, this is actually making me a better version. And all the doors that I thought were closing, you know, was ruining my life or sending me in a different way, was actually sending me in the best possible way ever. Like, I put this down to, when I was playing footy, I got asked to go play a sevens tournament in Brisbane, and I was living in Sydney, and I was like, no, it's all good. And one of the persons in the team was like, actually, someone got injured. We need you to play. Like, just come and sit on the bench. It's all good. And I was umming and ahhing about it. I was like, oh, yeah, whatever. Righto, I'll come down and play. First game, broke my leg, broke my ankle, and had to move from Sydney back to the sunny coast, had to do all my recovery. And I was down. Like, I was still struggling with my mental health, got a massive injury, can't train. That was the only thing that was sort of keeping me somewhat sane, was all my training. Locked in the house and moved back to the sunny coast. Contract ended down in Sydney. I was pretty much like, what do I do now? But it wasn't during that time where I got set up on a blind date with now my wife. And I look back at it, and during that time, I was so angry at the world. I was so angry that I said yes to that. I was so angry that this happened to me. And it's not until now that I sit here being with her for 8 years, that happily married, that I can go, well, that was the best thing that's ever happened to me.
That was divine.
That was divine time.
I guess it was the divine plan for you.
Yeah, because I think back and go, if I didn't say yes to that, I'd still be living in Sydney playing footy. I don't know where my life would have ended up. But if I had to go back again and play that tournament and break my leg just to meet Jordan, 100% would. You know, and it's crazy how like the divine time that you just got to almost relinquish control of always trying to control everything in your life.
I think that's it. That is a perspective that a lot of people don't realize. You know, the thing that you were talking about before, like that's always available to you. And the question I sort of have for you as you were sharing there was, you know, I think from what I can gather, you've had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my question is, right, do you think that a lot of these injuries,
I know where you're going.
Right, it was kind of like you walking around like lost in the world, right, until you were able to find yourself, right? And it's just kind of like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Right, and all of these things, and it was like, you're not, you know, jeez.
I wasn't learning.
Yeah.
I wasn't learning the lesson, and the universe kept going, oh, I'll keep teaching you.
Yeah, and it's like you're falling backwards, you're not failing forwards, right? Like, 'cause we're always going to fall over at some point in time.
I never thought I was resilient. I never thought I was a resilient person.
Yep.
I knew that I could train hard, and I thought training hard, you know, that came easy to me. Like I got around training, I got around playing footy, like that was easy for me in terms of like overcoming mental battles or overcoming sort of times in my life where I felt really down, that I didn't feel resilient at all.
I think what it kind of sounds like to me, and like it feels like we're coaching here, right?
That's all right.
Right. But what it sort of feels like is, you know, the divine plan for you was like, not yet. You need this experience. As crazy as this sounds, right? You're going to have heaps of these, not a couple. You're going to have heaps of these, and they're going to go for years, and they're really going to hurt, and they're going to frustrate you, and you're going to quit, and you're going to give up, and you're going to ask, why me? And why is this happening to me over and over and over again? But I got something in store for you. In your future, you will meet somebody who will shine a light on you and allow you to see and experience life in ways that you've never seen before. Does that make sense?
That's spot on.
Yeah? And then you met her, and by the sounds of things, life changed.
Life changed. She was still with me during the times where I was avoiding seeking answers around my mental health. She was still there. She witnessed a few episodes where I would get angry for 2 or 3 days over something so little. And this happened before Jordan, and she witnessed three episodes where I would just not become violent, but I would just get so internally angry that I would just be a terrible person to be around for 2 or 3 days and let it consume me. And then I'll come back to reality again. And it would probably happen once every 8 or 9 months. And then I would always convince her, after I've come out of it, she would be asking questions. And this is me being immature child about my emotional capabilities, was I'd always just, give her excuses like, no, it's all good. Like, it's fine. It would never happen again. I was just stressed about work and always giving her bullshit answers. And it wasn't until the third one where same thing happened. I think the fridge was left open overnight or something so little like that. It set me off, and I came back home. She was crying, and I was still kind of like, oh, it wasn't that bad, was it? Like, and she sat me down and she was like, look, I love you and I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and I can handle you doing this to me, but I cannot handle you doing that to our kids. So if you want to have kids one day, that is a standard that I will not let happen. If you want to seek answers, if you want to, do what you need to do to understand yourself and figure out what's going on, I'm all there. I'm with you every step of the way. But if you don't want to put any effort into it, I'm gone.
Yep.
And for years, I knew this moment was coming. I knew that I had to do something about it, but I was just such a scared little boy that I was so afraid of what I was going to find that I just kept procrastinating. And it wasn't until Jordan to sit me down and say, you either search for the answers or I'm out of here.
For most men, in my experience and observation, this is what it is. It's not until I'm about to lose, it or I've already lost it. Right? And it's really crazy that that's the place that a lot of men have to get to. However, I feel that once a lot of men have got to that point, they realize, and they've done some work and they've learned a few things. So I don't have to get to the point where I've lost everything to make a change. I can make change before that. Yes, you can.
How can you? Sorry to butt in, because I've always been under the impression that pain is the greatest motivator. But it wasn't until Jordan's love that was the greatest motivator. Like how do we make that change before rock bottom? How can we motivate someone enough?
How can we motivate someone, or how can we find it within ourselves?
Well, I guess like if you're giving advice, but how do you find it in yourselves to make that change?
We need to turn around the way that we're looking.
Okay.
Right, so remember before, we're either motivated from fear or love. Right, you can be in the same position, but if you turn around, what you see is different to if you turn around and you face forward. My question to you is, think of yourself like moving forward, right, or even just driving forward. But the way that you're driving forward is looking through your rearview mirror. How long can you keep on driving forward before you have a car crash? Not very long, right? Yeah. You drive forward by looking through the windscreen, and guess how big the windscreen is? Way bigger than the rearview mirror, right? But most people are moving forward in life looking backwards, which is why they keep on falling over, which is why they can't see what's actually in front of them, right? And I think it's usually not until, a man has had a car crash, till he's had that catastrophe, that significant event, till he's like, okay, he wakes up to himself, right? Because for most men, I feel they need something tangible. Feelings aren't tangible to grab onto. There's not enough evidence, right? You leaving me lets me know, I've gone too far.
It's like we almost need more logic, don't we? We need more evidence.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't intellectualize your emotions, so you can't even, work it that way around.
Yeah.
I was having this memory of when you were talking about suffering. A couple of years ago, we went to Tony Robbins, and he went through this process called the Dickens process, and I was standing on the stairs when it was in the stadium when it was happening, and I got to this point where I had this realization: everything that I'd been through had led me to the life that I'm living. Right? There is no other way that it could have happened, and when I realized that, I was like, "What the fuck? Surely there could have been another way."
Yeah, surely there was a better way.
I'm like, but if there could have been another way for me, right, it would have happened differently. But it didn't happen differently, which means the way that it happened was the way that it had to happen, and it could only have happened. And I'm like, get fucked. Are you kidding me? Right? I had to go through all of that suffering, right, to become who I am. The truth is, the reason I'm able to do the things that I do is because the amount of skin in the game that I got, right? The amount of life experience that I've got, my own personal experience. It's not the education. The education's great, right? The courses, the workshops, the mentors, the coaches, the experiences that I've had have definitely helped support me to do the things that I do. But it'll never trump the amount of personal life experience,
your lived experience,
the lived experience that I have in it.
For sure. We spoke a little bit about before we started on the breath work, and it's something that I really want to get into you with, because I've just started sort of my journey with it, and the reason I want to talk to you about it is because the first time that I tried it, I got super emotional. Okay, and it scared the shit out of me. Yeah, because it was like the fear of the unknown, and I don't know why I was getting emotional. I don't know if it was, if it was pain or if it was joy. I couldn't distinguish what was happening. All I can remember was I was going through the breaths, and it was like, oh, this isn't too bad. And it was like 10 minutes, and I was like, holy shit, I feel like I'm going to start crying. And it became super overwhelming that it just scared me, because I was like, what's coming up? Like what's still down there that I haven't addressed yet? Because I think I'm 34 now. I started sort of my own personal development at 30. There was 4 years of sort of every day just trying to figure out who I am, trying to figure out like what I love, what I don't love, really like hone in on me as a person. And I felt like there was a lot of growth in that 4 years, but it wasn't until a 15-minute breathwork session when I was just like, far out, like there's so much more to me that I haven't discovered yet. And I think why it scared me, I was thinking about this on the car ride here, was I think I've associated crying with negativity or with pain.
Yep.
Because when I was growing up, I only cried if I was upset or angry. I didn't cry at good things. I didn't cry at like, happy cries or anything like that. So when these tears or the feeling of crying started coming up, I was like, that's got to be bad. Like, it's got to be negative. And I tried to run away from it because I was like, that scares me because crying must be bad. So I really wanted to dive in with you around the breath work. Well, what am I feeling then? Like in that experience, like what's coming up?
We can't give what we don't have.
Okay.
So the way that I look at life is about expression. And the way that we choose to live our lives, the music we listen to, the clothes you wear, the way that you do your hair, right? The colors that you like, they are all a form of expression. And whatever we don't express, right, can become suppressed. And if you suppress it long enough, it can become depressed. So whatever's been pushed down unexpressed, when we breathe, breathwork is a tool that has the ability to bridge the gap between the body and the mind. Think of the body as the unconscious mind, conscious mind being the brain, right? Everything that's above the surface that we can see. Everything beneath the surface, right, stored in this physical body of yours. So when we tap into breathwork, now we get to bridge the gap between the two. And whatever you've been pushing down generally is what's going to come up, right? So, we have to ask, like, where do the emotions go? Right? They're in this body somehow.
Yeah.
So if we can't give what we don't have, and there's emotions, unexpressed emotions that are in there, but also unexpressed and unprocessed memories as well, right? Suppressed memories, they get to come up as well. And the breath is a tool that can also drop you into altered states as well. So if you think about all the things in the world that you could ever know, the things you know, and then there's a portion that you don't know. The bigger portion is actually the unknown. Question is, what's there? Right? What's in the space of the unknown? Breathwork is a tool that can allow you to step out of this physical realm and tap into the field, right? The quantum field, the space. Right? Like this is just a manifestation of energy. So when you're able to tap into this and we're able to free some of that up, right, we start to feel more whole again.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when you're going through these experiences, just from my own small experience that I've got, it almost became I wasn't where I was somewhere else.
Yeah.
When you go into these states and go deeper into these states and almost, relinquish control of those fears and insecurities, can you go to a different place?
Man, there are no two breathwork sessions that are the same. Can you go to a different place? 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I speak about you can't give what you don't have, right? Most people are operating at quite either a moderate or high stress level, right? So when we tap into breath work and we're able to bridge the gap between the body and the mind, now we're connecting the body, the whole, whatever's underneath the hood, right? And if you're operating at sort of like moderate to high stress, it's not going to take much, right? I did a corporate gig the other day and it was basically like a toolbox talk. And within the first 30 seconds, there were tears.
Really?
And I don't know whether I have a big feeling it's got to do definitely with like the resonance of my voice, right? And the energy that sort of brings. But it's not unheard of or surprising for me to have people in tears within the first 60 seconds, right? What that tells me is that is how much is underneath the surface for general society.
For all of us.
Majority of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like for me lately, a big thing around the work that I do is around nervous system regulation, right? We can do the deep, cathartic, big, releases, but what about the rest of your life? What about the rest of society? Right? Not everyone is going through deep, deep trauma. And even if you are going through deep, deep trauma, if deep trauma release breath work is what you're always diving into, right? I think you can mislead people to that's what life's about. And this is how it's done.
Yeah.
There's a time for deep work, and then there's a time for the maintenance stuff.
I love that. So what's your nervous regulation? What did you say? Your nervous system regulation.
Nervous system regulation.
Yeah.
So think about, we've got a central nervous system, we've got an autonomic nervous system. Inside of our autonomic nervous system, we have our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous system. So we've got a rest and digest, and we've got a fight or flight. Depending on where you are responding from will influence the way that you experience things.
So is this why I struggle going to sleep at night? Is this
Possibly.
why I as soon as I lay down on it doesn't happen every night, but as soon as I lay down on that pillow, my head's just coming up with stories or ideas or things, and it's racing. I'm like, why is it racing right now? I need it to settle down.
Well, let me ask you this question. Is it a problem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I could just lay down and just boom, straight to sleep.
The way I look at problems is the more we avoid them, the more that we make them wrong, right? The more that we try to control them, right? The less capable they are of doing what they need to do. So if I tell you not to do something, what are you generally going to do?
Yeah, you're going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So every time you tell your mind to quiet on down, does it quiet down?
No.
What if you just let it go?
Yeah, what if
What if you just let it go?
I've never tried that.
Right. So think about children, really hyperactive children, right? They've got energy for days, but all energy runs out, right? They're not going to keep on running for like endlessly, right? So what do most parents do? We let them burn it out, right? Same as young boys. So when we let them burn the energy out, they come back, they're a lot more settled. They're a lot more responsive.
Yeah.
So if you just allowed your mind to do whatever it did, and what if you actually just took the time to write those thoughts down?
Yeah.
Right? Like, do you feel that those thoughts would settle better?
Yeah.
Give it a try.
Because that's funny you've mentioned that, because I actually I started writing my thoughts down. I don't know why I didn't think of this, struggling to sleep, but I was always reacting to certain situations, right? And this has always been my issue, that I would always say something in anger or frustration, and I would say something that I'd just go 5 minutes later, I go, why did I say that? I would always be regretful. I go, wow, if you just waited till you'd calm down and then had a proper think about it, you wouldn't have said that. What I started doing was I needed to release
Something needed to be expressed.
Something needed to be expressed, but I knew at the time, to that person or that situation, I knew I didn't want to do that to them, but I needed to release it. So what I would do was, if in a situation or an argument or an altercation or whatever it was, and I wanted to say something, I just wouldn't say it. I'd wait, and I'd go home or in my phone, and I'd write it all down. Everything that I wanted to say in that moment, I'll get it off my chest. I feel a lot better because it felt like I had spoken it because I had written it down. And then, a couple of days later, I would read back what I wanted to say, and 9 times, almost 10 times out of 10, I go, yeah, thank God I didn't say that. So it almost became a tool that I was just, I still do it now. Like things I want to say, I would always just still write it down. And if I wanted to say it after 2 or 3 days, then it's fine. But most of the time, I would look back at it and go,
perfect.
Don't you ever say that?
Yeah. I think that's perfect. And I think when you're going to bed at night,
do the same thing. What's been your journey with your breath work now? You're so experienced with it. Was there a turning point for you or a moment where you were first introduced to it?
The very first breathwork experience is what changed my life.
Really?
So it was part of like this. I'd done breathwork before, but never like this. So where it was a transformational experience. Before it was just about, I guess, priming, right? Just changing my state. Anyway, so we have this breathwork experience, and it goes through this like 4-step process. And I guess it was going through an elemental experience, right? Where we're going through like earth, air, fire, water, and I guess air was the breath. We get down to the breath, and what I experienced my body dissolve into the atmosphere, melt into the floor, and then it come out of the floor sort of bigger, taller. And when I shared with you before about how I grew up with, my Tongan family, and across the fence, our neighbours was the Australian family, their mum passed away 10 days after my 21st birthday. So at the end of my breath work, when I came out bigger and taller, at the end of it, she came to me in my breathwork journey, right? And when I stood up, I was like, what? I just burst out into tears, right? Because the last time I ever saw her like that, like tangible.
It was real.
Like it felt real. Felt like she came to me, and it was like she came to me and there was sunflowers around her, right? And when I come out of the breathwork experience, I was like, that's what I came here for. I came here for that experience there, right? And changed my life. And I guess if you understand basic anatomy and physiology, and my background was, health and fitness, personal training, at that point, I was like, I can do this thing. Like this thing, like I'm all about this.
Yeah.
So I just become obsessed ever since then.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by TLC Recovery Centre on the Sunshine Coast. Whether you're chasing peak performance or just need to reset, TLC has everything you need. Infrared saunas to help detox your body, reduce inflammation, improve circulation and calm the nervous system, leaving you feeling lighter, clearer and more recovered after every session. They've got cold plunges to reduce inflammation, boost mood and mental clarity and build resilience. They've got compression boots to speed up muscle repair and massage therapists who know exactly what your body needs. But what really sets TLC apart? The people. The owners are the kind of good humans you want in your corner. Down to earth, genuinely care and deeply invested in the local community. Head to TLC Sunshine Coast, use the code TLC15MYH to receive 15% off and experience it for yourself. So what is it about breathwork that unlocks in us that traditional therapy doesn't? I know you mentioned before about there's something different about being in a room, 4 walls, on a couch, talking to someone versus out in nature, doing your retreats. What is it about breathwork that unlocks us in it? I know the connection with your mind and the body.
I think the reason why it feels so profound for most people is how.
Yes.
How? How could this thing, this really, really simple thing that we all do, that I've been doing all my life, that we all do from the moment that we come into this world to the moment that we leave, how could it give me this experience that I just had? How can it help me as much as it's helped me? And I think that profound experience for every single person that's been able to experience it, that's what really grabs people.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing is it has, like, for the majority part of it, very low side effects. The only way that you have any horrible side effects is if you're negligent. Like if you're just absolutely reckless, right? Like let's say, and I'm talking about window of tolerance here. So let's say you do have PTSD and now you're using breath work as a tool to help you, overcome and treat that. But the way that you do it allows you, puts you in a space where you are far outside of your window of tolerance. Not only are you outside of your window of tolerance, you've been way outside of your window of tolerance for way too long, right? Have a think about the impact that could have somebody, right? Especially somebody with a PTSD, right?
Yeah.
Like massive negative effects, right? So we want to be able to, what we call titration, little bits at a time, right? What that's going to do is going to allow your nervous system to build a greater capacity to be able to take on more. Not only that, you're going to be able to integrate much greater as well.
Because the reason I'm so interested in it, because I for a while now, I mentioned it before, how the work that I'm doing, I still feel there's a hole that hasn't been filled. There's a bit of me that I'm thinking, that's always been playing on my mind, that there's something else there that I haven't addressed yet. and I was looking at like spirituality or religion, or my older brother who's big on ayahuasca ceremonies and that sort of thing, and he was like, why don't you give it a try, right? And it was
plant medicine is one of those things. Let's give it a try.
yeah.
Right. It's not like, hey, do you want to get sushi or not? Right. It's not one of those things.
That's why I'm so terrified of it.
You have to be called to plant medicine.
Yeah.
Right. This is why I love breathwork. Is because you can access it anywhere, anytime. It's for absolutely anyone and everyone. Right. You do it in a small dose, you can work with it. You do it in a big dose, it can change your world. Right? It can change your world in a small dose as well.
Because we started doing a little bit with I get a fair bit of social anxiety.
Yep.
Don't know where it comes from, but I'd always sort of panic a little bit in social situations, and I just started doing some breath.
Yes.
And it would just calm me down, relax me, and like you said, put me in the moment, but make me present in the moment. I was thinking, where has this been all my life? Like, especially when I was playing footy, like the feeling of the anxieties before a game. And I think back now, I go, I would love to have that ability to go back and do that breath. But what I'm thinking about now is like, how can I do it now? Like in situations where it stresses me out, or situations where I feel overwhelmed, or can you use it in not just, to make yourself feel better if you're feeling anxious? Can you do it when you're feeling good?
Yeah, you can use it anytime.
Anytime.
So this is the thing. What a lot of people aren't realizing is that you can shape it to whatever you want.
You can tailor it just to you.
You can shape it to whatever you want, right? Let's say you wake up in the morning, you want to use it to activate your body for the day. You could do that. Let's say you're in an overwhelming situation and you want to regulate your nervous system. You could do it for that. Let's say that you've been carrying like lifelong trauma and you want to be able to overcome that. You can do that. Let's say life is going really good and you're wanting to take your life to the next level. You can tap into that level of manifestation as well. Whatever you want to use it for, that's what you can use it for.
Really?
100%.
What's been some of the I guess the most memorable breathwork sessions you've had with people? Oh, there'd be so many.
So many.
Yeah.
I've probably facilitated hundreds of breathwork sessions, one-on-ones, privates, groups, corporates, events, hundreds. We did Prana Fest recently. That was 430 men and women on one day, and it was 300 men the day after. I did a corporate. There was like 120 childcare workers that were in there.
Yeah.
The thing I love about breath work is like the same thing that picks it up is the same thing that puts it down. We're just working with breath here.
Yeah.
Right. So as long as you got a duty of care, you can do whatever you want with it. Right.
Do you feel like we're all breathing wrong?
100%.
Because I think I was saying to you before that I catch myself sometimes. I would start breathing and I catch myself going like I've lost breath.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is it the shortness? I think I'm like the shortness of breath where I'm not taking and feel it in here and then out again. I feel like I'm just taking these short breaths through my mouth.
I have a question for you.
Go.
Right. Now, it's almost like we are backtracking a bit here.
That's all right.
But my question is, we were talking about your father before, right? And you were talking about the overcorrection. Yeah. And we were talking before about the missing piece. You feel like there's a missing piece. If the thing that he overcorrected, the space that was in the middle, if you had that as a child, right? You remember when you were talking about your cousins? You were like seeing them all, enjoy and embrace family or others, right? And you're like, where's that for us? My curiosity is that have you always had an inner knowing that was a missing piece that you have craved and you desired that never happened?
I was always envious.
This is what I'm getting at, right? Because what we're talking about is love.
Yeah.
But, if we really look at it, we break it on down, the reason why your father, chose to raise you the way he did was because it was coming from a place of love from him.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? This was the most loving way that he could raise you guys. Right? But, you know, there's, as a parent, for everything that we can teach and share with our kids, we're always going to have things like we're going to fail, right? And this is why I said to you before, as a father, as a parent, you are inevitably going to fail.
Yeah.
So regardless of how much of a great father I was, I couldn't stop the amount of trauma that my daughter had carried inside of her body for the breakdown of her mother and I. No idea. How did I know that her body was going to remember, right? And what I'm kind of curious is, do you feel that it's possible that there is this inner knowing inside of you that is a part of you that you have craved? And is it possible that that experience of that love could have changed your world?
Yeah, for sure.
That this is something that you never got. So it made you think of life, see life, and, you know, from the perspective that you've had.
Yeah.
Right? But now let's say we drop love into that reality.
Yeah.
The love that you've craved. How does that change everything? What does that do to that picture now?
Makes it whole.
And what was the question you asked me before? You felt like there's always been something?
Yeah. Missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the answer you just said then was? Makes it whole.
I never really thought about it that way.
I was just curious.
Yeah, that's definitely. Like, I'll share something, and my dad might mind or he might not mind. Like, I think the reason I gravitated towards rugby so much is I've never seen my parents so pleased and happy with me when I play well during a footy game. And I always felt like, and this might not be the reality of how it was, but this is probably how it felt for me. Whether that's right or wrong, whether it's true or false, what felt for me was I thought I had learning difficulties at school. So I thought I was a failure at school. And there were some times I would come home and the chores weren't done, right? And I would always feel like I'm constantly letting mum and dad down. I'm constantly letting them down. And I felt like when I played a game of footy and I played well, the smile on their face or the hug they would give me after I've played a game was addictive because I feel the love. Like, that's when I was like, oh, this is what I'm craving, like that hug or the look on their face when I play. Like, I've come off and I've scored a few tries or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'd love this.
Yeah.
Like, I love that feeling. And I think that's what sort of drove me to keep performing and playing well, is the look in their face when I finished a game and I've played well and they just give me the biggest hug. And it's not a hug that I would have got at home.
Yeah.
The feeling, the tight hold, how long it lasts for, like,
it's that deep hug.
That deep hug, but also there's a look on their face, well, I've made them proud. Because for so long, growing up, I never thought I did anything to make them proud. I wasn't good at school. I didn't get good grades. You know, I probably wasn't the best son around the house. Like, I was probably like a lazy, you know, teenage kid. But when I played rugby, I felt like they would look at me and go, oh, I'm proud.
This is how you received love.
Yeah, I'm proud that he's my son.
And I guess when we think about playing football, how many games of football can you play ever?
And
right?
that,
like in a week.
Yeah, one.
So you get to experience love once a week.
Yeah.
Right? Like that one, let that one land. You know, that this was the thing that you did to experience love. And what I sort of sense is that you, at some point in time, realize, I can't play enough football to receive the amount of love that I actually need. It's not about the football anymore. Right? I actually don't enjoy football as much as what I used to, right? Because I only do this so that I can experience the love. And they don't know this, but I don't know how to do it any other way.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So the reason why I'm saying that is because when we talk about breath work, we can do as much breath work as we want, but if this is what the stories that are playing underneath the hood, we'll heal nothing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, a lot of sense actually. Yeah, that's been. Yeah, I've never had anyone put it like that before. That's been worrying me for 34 years.
What's coming up for you now?
Relief.
I feel emotional having the conversation with you. Maybe because I'm a father.
Mm.
You know.
I guess open my eyes up to things like that and making me look in a different way, because these are the things that we talked about perfect parenting and there's nothing like that, but these are the things that like I want to find answers for, because I think a lot of the time I'm looking externally to fill that hole. Like, how do I fill that hole from something else? Because I've always been so like, transactional or grabbing at things to fill the hole. Like, oh, I need that love, I need that attention or whatever it is to fill it. I think probably the more I realize that it's all internally as well for me. Yeah, and these are the chats that I love to have, because I'm so cautious of how to be a father myself. And I never blame mum and dad. Like I never, I was always afraid and embarrassed to talk about these sorts of things, because I didn't want to paint mum and dad in a bad way or anything like that, or make mum and dad feel bad, because they're my heroes.
Yeah.
Like the move over from New Zealand to raise 3 boys on no money, but also give us like the best childhood in terms, we were going on camping trips all the time. Like I couldn't fault them as parents. Yeah. I had so much love for them, which is why I was always afraid and embarrassed to share these things.
I think what can be learned from this is an awareness of what can happen when things aren't expressed, right? Like when we keep everything like above board. This is the way I kind of think of it. Think about emotions. What we're looking for is strength in expression, strength in being able to express and feel our emotions. And when people aren't experienced in expression or communicating their thoughts, feelings, and their emotions, there's a lack of strength there now, right? So I have an awareness that when we get to the feeling stuff, I'm probably going to experience some problems with this person, right? It doesn't matter how much they've got in order, right? I've had millionaires, right, who are loaded on their bedroom's floor, and I'm like, I've thought this many a time, where they're laying and they're breathing and I'm guiding them through breath, and I'm like, it doesn't matter how much money you got, right? Because right now, we're equals. Not me and you, everybody. When we lay down to breathe, we are all the same, right? What you're going through doesn't care about how much money you got. It doesn't care how successful you are.
It doesn't discriminate at all.
It doesn't discriminate at all. Trauma does not discriminate at all, right? Life doesn't discriminate, right? Life is always going to do whatever life is going to do.
Yeah.
So, it just, I think it's, not about judging our parents, right? Because as you said, there is no perfect parenting. No. It's like, what it does is it presents an awareness. It's like, okay, this is what can happen, right, if X, Y, and Z happens, right? I wonder what happens if I make an adjustment here and here. Oh, that works better. Wow, who would have thought? Right?
Yeah, for sure.
At the same time, your child's going to grow up and they're just going like, I said this to my daughter. I saw this highlight reel of some young kids, and we see it all the time, right? The young guns, the up and coming, athletes, and the dads are really proud of them. So they've got this highlight reel of their son, like 14, 15, right? Yeah. They share it on social media, and I'd seen it, and I was just like, and it was for my cousin. So it was my cousin's son, Tessie Neal, who used to play for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Do you know Tessie?
Yeah.
So his dad's my first cousin.
Oh, right. Okay.
His grandma's my dad's older sister. Anyway, his dad actually passed a couple of years ago, right? But I saw his highlight reel. So his dad shares a highlight reel, and I'm like, one day my son will have one of those. And I'm like, ooh, my daughter doesn't have a highlight reel. I'm like, have I fucked up here?
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me just ask her. But my daughter, for the life of me, has never felt a competitive bone in her body where she wants to play competitive sport. I said, honey dear, I was watching this highlight reel and I was thinking, maybe I didn't push you enough. Should I have pushed you further? She's like, yeah, I think probably, yeah, Dad. And I was like, oh my God. Right. It doesn't matter how much I tried to push you to want to play competitive sport. For the life of me, you just didn't care. Right. But I asked that question. She gives me that response. And I'm like, well, you win some, you lose some.
It's so funny that because we've come from a family that all play rugby. So we've all been, all our mates, we've all been pushed to play rugby.
Yeah.
Right. And everyone's been high achievers and pushed to play rugby. And I got a mate who's parenting, they never push him to do anything. And we had a chat about this not too long ago. And we're in the car and he goes, oh man, I wish my parents pushed me a lot more into certain things. I was like, why's that? He goes, I just don't care about much. Like I just sort of go through space. And he's like, look at you. Like your parents sort of push you to do that. And look where you got. And I was like, I wish my parents didn't push me less.
This is what I mean. We fail as parents. You are inevitably going to fail. And the sooner you realize that, man, the sooner you can relinquish yourself of personal judgment
and all those insecurities of failing. And I think for so long I looked as failing as so personal and like an attack on me that like I can't fail. Like failing was not an option for me. I thought failing was the worst thing in the world. Like I honestly, like for years I thought failing was, what an embarrassment, what so much shame around failing. And that's another thing that I'm thinking about when I'm like, parenting is like, I just don't want to fail. I just want to be seen as a failure. But it hasn't been sort of the last sort of 5 years where I've looked at failing as like not a bad thing.
Well, the thing to learn about that is right, like this is, like how do we learn to become anyone from our parents, right? And from the world around us. So as much as we don't want to be a failure, right? And then we learn to overcome that. We also don't want our kids to fear failure as well. But guess what kids fear? Failure.
Yeah.
Right? So the thing that we keep on trying to avoid happening, it inevitably happens. And I guess it's in those moments we want the tools. We want some insight. Right, like we want some loving care in those moments. So we don't want to take the experience of failure away from them, right? We just want them to know that they've got the support. We want them to feel that they've got the support. We want them to feel, that falling over is actually a good thing, even though they might not feel like it's, I don't want to fail. The way I look at it is if you're failing, good.
Yeah.
Great. This is good news. What do you mean failing is good news? And I'm just like, because it means you're learning something right now. What have you learned right now? I've learned that I suck at this. And I was like, yeah, guess what? You try again, you're going to suck less. This is good news.
That's so cool because I saw a video the other day where a lady was getting interviewed and one of the questions was, what's the best advice or learnings that you took from your father? And she said he forced me every day to fail at 3 things as a kid. So he would come home from school and she would say all the things that succeeded and done well, and he goes, most importantly, what are the 3 things that you failed at today? And she would have to do 3 things every day and fail at it. And she was like, as a kid, she was like, why was he always encouraging failure? I didn't understand. Like he was always pushing me to encourage failure. She's an entrepreneur now with own businesses. She's like, I get it. Like he was making me use and are comfortable with failing, that it's okay, like to try new things, to experience new things. And like failing is like, the fear of failing is like what holds so many people back. And
so many people.
And I saw something the other day. It's almost like, do you fear failing or do you fear what people like perceive or they judge you by your failing? Like if you failed and no one was around, would you care that much?
No.
It's just like when people see that you're failing, that's what you're fearful of.
It's funny, like with my daughter, my wife, like we come from very different families. She's one of the oldest of 3 kids from country New South Wales. And, when you come from a big family like mine, like you you fail all the time, right? But like, because when you come from very, very humble beginnings, you have to work and earn and fight for everything, right? Just to ensure that you can provide for yourself and for your future, and that your life can be whatever it is you want it to be.
Yeah.
So we were talking about something, and I started talking about attachment styles. And when she said to me, what's your attachment style? It's like, no attachment, huh? I said, secure. And then she was like, okay. I said, have you done an attachment style test before? She's like, nah. And I was like, okay, I'll send you one. And then it made me think, I wonder what my daughter is. So I sent her one, and I just had this inkling, and I'm like, I got a gut feeling, like father, like daughter.
Yeah.
She finishes it. She comes over. She giggles. She shows it to me. Looks at the quadrant. She's like, secure, Dad. and I was like, I just knew it. And when you talk about, fatherhood and what we want for our kids, and teaching failure and all of those kinds of things, I think some points for me around fatherhood is, one, always keep the communications lines open. As long as you can have communication lines open, you can always have a finger on the pulse. Way too many parents have no idea what's going on with their kids, and then something goes wrong, right? They have no idea because the communication's not there, right? Whether things go wrong or right, it doesn't matter. What matters most is that you're communicating with your kid. The other one is spend time with them. How do you get to nobody if you spend no time with them? And the other thing is pay attention. Everything you need to know is like what you're observing. Right? Watch how their body moves. Watch how they talk. Watch how they interact. Watch how they socialize. Watch how they play. Look at the facial expressions. What makes them happy? What makes them sad? What do they like? Right? All of these things. Paying attention and just being present will give you all the information that you need to know. Right? So when I saw secure, I was like, okay. Like, this is like, I've done something good. I've done something good.
Yeah, I love that. I'd love to talk to you about the men's medicine. So the mental health is pretty much the reason why this podcast exists, to chat about my own journey with my own mental health and the dark times and how I sort of got out of that. I'd love to chat to you about your own struggles. Have you gone through your own struggles with your own mental health?
Definitely. I've shared it a couple of times on my socials. From memory, suicide had, from memory, like 3 clear times where, that I actually wanted to take my life. Depression, the very first time was before I met my daughter's mother, and it was at the end of my relationship before that. And even like the memory, like it just, I could feel that sensation, right?
Doesn't go away, does it?
Well, depression, it was like this dark hole that was like a vortex that was vacuuming me in. And over 2 weeks, I lost 8 kilos because I wouldn't leave my bedroom. And I remember talking to my sister, and back then I was insurance cleaning for this short stint that I stepped away from, fitness at the beginning of my PT career. And I remember saying to her, I said, Fizz, I've lost a bit of weight, hey? And then she said, how much? I said, 8 kilos. She said, okay, so enough's enough, right? I've watched you do this over the last 2 weeks, right? You're not as bad as what you think you are, right? What you've done is not as horrible as what you think it is, right? You're actually going to be fine. And I was like, are you sure? Right, and she's like my best friend, my sister. So it's like me, her, and then my 4 sisters. So she pulled me out of that one. And then, so depression, suicide, anxiety's never really, definitely experienced it, but it's never been this thing where like it's been debilitating for me. It's like the deeper stuff. That's the stuff that's crippled me.
What do you find when you do these retreats? What do you find most men are struggling with?
Most of the reasons why, the problems that most men work with me come to us for is they're either lost, struggle with mental health, or they're going through a relationship breakdown. They're the most common reasons why anyone comes to us. And I guess if you're lost, you can feel like a bit of a failure, right? And especially like the older you get. I should be at this somewhere, in my life.
That expectation.
Yes, the expectation. And then mental health, like, it's so daunting to be crippled by these invisible things, right? So, think about overwhelm. You could be experiencing all the information and getting all the answers that you need. But if you're struggling with mental health, the overwhelm, right, of being able to receive that information because of the time that you're in can be so overwhelming, you're struggling to even receive the information. So we go back to titration, like we break things down into, smaller size pieces. And the relationship breakdowns, that's probably the bigger one, bro. I think I'm probably working with about a dozen relationships at this right now. And a lot of men don't really, especially in today's world, like know where they stand. Not only know where they stand, but like what to do, how to do it, what it means to be a man in today's world. It's changed.
Is that what we're talking about? So that rites of passage. There isn't any rites of passage,
especially not in Australia. No,
especially not in Australia. Yeah, not at all.
Like what's a rites of passage in today's Western world? It's
your 18th.
You turn 18 and now you're a man.
You're a man.
How in the world does that make you a man? Your birthday, right? And we think about the qualities of what it means to be a strong and independent, healthy, man. Those skills have to be taught. They have to be learnt, which means we need to go into a space and have the support and the mentorship and the container for that to develop. That takes time, right? Not enough young men are spending enough time with men that have those skills, that embody those characteristics and those attributes, and they definitely don't even spend long enough with them to be able to absorb, right, and learn some of these things. I guess we live in such a fast-paced world. Attention spans are super, super slow. So I kind of catch most men where at the point where like they've lost everything.
They've lost it.
Yeah, I'm about to lose it, or I've already lost it.
And I think we spoke about off camera before is it's also that environment you're in, the culture that you're in. Like, if you're with all your mates and they're all the same, it's pretty hard to learn.
100%. I heard something just. It's sort of a quick note, but I'm going to touch on it, right? And I'm going to touch on it because what it sort of reflects and highlights is why it's so challenging for men. And I saw something on the Daily Australian podcast, and what they talked about was in the 100 years of the AFL, there's never been one player that has come out being gay. Have you seen it? Right? I saw this yesterday. What I thought about it was, well, we think about it as a whole, as like a gender of men, a population of men. Why? What even motivates us to even express ourselves? What does this motivates anybody to express themselves? Safety, right? Now, picture yourself being a professional athlete, right? Now, you've struggled with this thing yourself, and now you come out with your teammates. Now, it's not just your teammates know, your club knows. But because you're a professional athlete, not just the club knows, the whole competition, the league knows now too. And we think about the way Australia's relationship with sports is, and our sporting athletes is. You look at the stance, right? The way that they treat the opposition. You look at social media, the way that they talk about athletes on social media. And now you expect a man to come out and say that he's gay, right? Safely. And then he's going to be able to walk down the street without any heckling. He could be free to love the man that he's with and hold hands and right without it being dangerous. Right.
It's sad that that's not a reality that we live in.
Right. And I just think like it doesn't just go, for gay men. I'm like, this goes for most men, right? Like they're not opening up because it's not exactly safe to for most men. What I say to that is make sure you know who your people are, right? You don't need a lot, right? Like for me at the beginning it was my sister and it was my best friend, who's my daughter's godfather. Now I've definitely got, a bigger network of people that support me through this.
That share the same values and beliefs and everything,
Yeah. And now like with men's medicine, it's a whole community.
Yeah. So what is men's medicine and sort of what's your aim?
The three pillars at men's medicine is connection, community, and culture. And the whole initial concept of that was that through connection, we can build community. And it's through connection and community, we can create a new culture, a new way of being, of love, of unity, of togetherness. That's been the concept it's been since the very beginning. we started off with just men, and then we eventually expanded, to women, and went from walks to workshops to retreats to programs to trainings. Now we teach what we do now.
Yeah.
And the way that I look at what we do at Men's Medicine, it's massively built on family values. And the reason why we're built on family values is I believe at the end of the day, everyone just wants to go home. Right? Like after your long day at work, after, the footy game, after your weekend out, with the boys, whatever it is, everyone wants to go home. But if you've not tended to yourself, you've not tended to your home, a lot of men go home to like a broken home or no home.
Man, I had this conversation with a good mate of mine who hated going home. I go, what? Because he'd always go out. And I'm like, what do you hate going home for? He goes, oh, all we're going to do is fight. I go, what are you fighting about? We're fighting about me going out. And I go, are you putting that priority? And he's just like, well, like what's the point? And I was thinking, because he was thinking about quitting, right? And I was just thinking, before you quit, I was just thinking, fill your cup, as in yours and hers as a relationship, fill your cup up with her as much as you can, do everything you possibly can. And then if you've got nothing left, all good. But right now you're quitting and you haven't even tried.
Well, a question I've got for you is, if he's never done it before, then how would he even know how to do it?
That's another true thing, yeah. Because he's always putting the mates, the footy team, like he's always going out, and he's just like, oh, I may as well stay out. We're gonna fight anyway, so I may as well stay out. And I was thinking, oh man, like
for a lot of men, that's what it is. So you think about the vision of, you've probably seen it in where the man or the father sits in his car at the end of the day at work in the driveway, right? Same thing, right? Men that stay at work longer than what they start, it's challenging at home, so I'm going to put some OT in. But
I see that all the time.
Starts with a little bit of OT, turns into a lot of OT. And that avoidance, I think the avoidance starts to come in because when it comes to emotions, like I said to you before, it can be really challenging. And how can we get better at something if we never allow ourselves to be experienced in it? And to become experienced in something, you also have to suck.
It's got to be vulnerable, isn't it? It's scary.
I think you have to be honest. So I prefer the word honest than vulnerability. Okay. We don't need to strive for vulnerability because when we're honest, we have a tendency to become vulnerable.
It's a byproduct, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the thing about the concept around vulnerability is we think that we have to be openly emotional. But if you're honest, your body's got to do whatever it's got to do. Because quite often you'll be saying things that make you feel extremely difficult, some things that are really hard, some things that you really don't want to say or express at all, in the fear of like, what will it sound like? What will they think of me? What do I look like? Right? Will I even get it right? All of these sorts of things. Vulnerability is already happening.
Yeah. That's it there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. Why is brotherhood so important with men in their journey to healing?
I believe that only men know what it feels like to be a man, right? Just the same as women will only know what it feels like to be a woman. And there are struggles that men go through that only other men understand, and you as a man know that this man understands because he's a man too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's that community and that connection.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of your videos online where they're all holding each other and they're sort of yelling and releasing that. Releasing that energy. And I'm thinking, it must take a lot, because I swear, like a lot of like footy guys will look at that and go, I could never do something like that.
Yeah.
No, I don't have that in me to do something like that. But it's in all of us.
It is in all of us. Like you think about, what was the highest level of football that you ever got to?
It would be like ITM Cup, New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you started, were you of that level?
No.
Right?
No.
But bit by bit, you earned your way there. You built your way there. Same thing to getting to that point. And like I said before about titration, you do it in little bits, and eventually you get yourself to a place and a space where you feel safe enough to release whatever it is that you've been holding on to, right? And I think you can make a mistake of letting go of it straight away.
Yeah.
Right? Because it can bamboozle you, right, in ways that, man, can have you spending weeks and even months still trying to process.
Really?
Yeah, because like you've now expressed yourself in a way that you've never experienced before. You've never even had a taste of it. You've just been like a bull out the gates and you've just gone full fireworks, right? A lot of the time, it's not to say that that can't help you either. But I think if you're looking for long-term results, but also being able to really integrate well, small bits, I think, is where you're going to gain the most effective results. Yeah.
We've got 15 minutes.
Yeah. What you got for me?
So I've got some quick fire questions to finish off. So you can answer these quickly as long as you want. What's your definition of success?
Whatever's most aligned with your soul.
What's most aligned with your soul?
Family.
Family?
Yeah.
What does purpose mean to you right now?
Purpose for me right now is alignment, longevity, in every area of my life. I was really sick in June, and sick to the point that I actually can't remember the last time I was that sick.
Like burnout sick or
like burnout sick. And then after I was sick, I had like excruciating back pain. I spent a couple of days calling myself out of bed, and then I went to the chiro because my back was sore, and then I went to another chiro, and he's actually a friend of mine. And what I really got to identify was how stretched my nervous system was. And then as we went sort of through it and looked at the degeneration in my neck and in my lower back, and I was just like, I know exactly how that happened. That's happened from years of me just carrying not just my stuff. And I don't just carry openly people's stuff, but let's say we're moving, I like to move life onwards and upwards. And if we're moving in the same direction, but you happen to not pick up your water bottle, or, you know, metaphorically, I can pick up a water bottle, right?
It's light. It's easy.
But how many water bottles do you reckon I've picked up?
A few.
And how many water bottles do you reckon I still got in my backpack?
A couple.
Right. So I know how that degeneration happens. I know how that burnout happened. And in that moment, I realized, okay, you know what? My body is telling me that I can continue to live my life the way that I do what I do, but I have to carry it differently. It will not allow me to continue to carry it the way that I've been carrying it. So right now, alignment, nervous system regulation, a lot of this stuff is helping allow me to live in my purpose.
This is probably another rabbit hole we probably don't have time for today, but I had a conversation with my mate about this, is the connection with that emotional pain, how it manifests into physical. Yeah. Like he couldn't understand that say the trauma you've gone through, that's just stuff inside you that won't show up as physical stuff.
100%.
But it does. And he was like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, man.
So that was one of the things, that was one of the breakthroughs. When I was on the bed at the chiro, and he was like digging into my psoas, and he was like, just breathe into that, whatever that is. And I'm like, brother, I know exactly what that is. Right. And I felt really emotional, and then he did the neck crack, and that felt really emotional. And then I'd had a big release at this men's event that I went to on that weekend. And what I realized was there was something, when he says like, let go of that. And because I'd been sick for a whole month, so I lost 10 kilos. I didn't really work for the whole month. I basically was sick, got up, worked, came home, sick again. That happened like for a whole month. And I think the weight loss, the sleeping, the laying in bed, that, and the keeping on going on, my nervous system was cooked. So when I was trying to start the healing process, and when he was pushing in, he's like, whatever that is, I'm like, I know exactly what that is. When I went to the men's event, and they did this thing where if you're carrying something and there's something that you need to, right, like that needs to come through, step in. So I didn't step in. Someone else stepped in, and I was just like, let him do his thing. But now my heart started beating really, so my breath started like my breath rate started increasing. Coincidentally enough, my chiro was actually standing next to me.
All right.
He puts his hand on me, and he's like now regulating me, co-regulating with me to breathe, and I'm like, fuck, he knows. he knows I'm supposed to be in the middle of the circle, right? So then they call me to come in and support the guy in the middle of the circle, and I'm standing behind him and I'm breathing fast, and I'm just like, oh man, all the signs to step in. So after he stepped out, they're like, next person. I'm just like, yep, that's me. Someone else went to go in the same time as me. I was like, brother, I got this. So he steps out, I step in, I unpack this thing, right? And the metaphor around carrying things, he goes and gets a big rock and he gets this big log and he comes back and he gives it to me. And he gets me sort of turning around. And then he looks at me and he goes, you good? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, do you want me to go get more rocks and logs? And I was like, yeah. And now I realize what he's trying to do. He's trying to like simulate me carrying stuff. I'm like, no. Did you want to carry it? And he goes, do you want me to carry it? I'm like, you know what? In this moment, I can make a choice. I said, I'm going to put this down. I'm going to make the personal choice to put this down. I put the thing down. I drop to my knee. I break down.
Oh, really?
Break down. My physical body just cracks, man. And I'm like cried like I've never cried before, right? Then they came through and they supported me. I've never even been held by a group of men. So I got 50 men holding me up at this point. And one of the men there, he's a singer, right? Phenomenal singer. He starts singing some African song, right? Tribal song. And I'm like, I've never been held. I've been carrying this burden that I knew it was for like 20 years. And now he's singing to me and open my eyes and like all of them. Like, and I started in this game like with men's medicine before anyone was really doing anything, right? So a lot of these men, you know, I'm kind of like a bit of, I guess, you know, a role model. Yeah. You know, of sorts, right? But they're holding me now. I'm being held now.
Roles are reversed.
Yeah. I think I crashed out and went to sleep about half an hour after that. I felt like I got hit by a Mack truck.
What did you feel like the next day?
The next day, I felt like I played footy all day.
Really?
Yeah. I felt like I played football all day. And it was because of all of those emotions, those memories. I've been carrying those memories for over 2 decades. And my body was now finally freeing it. So when you ask purpose, right now, like what feels purposeful to me is alignment. Right? In all areas of my life, personally and professionally. Because if it doesn't align personally and professionally, then the truth, it doesn't even work.
I think what's beautiful too is that the work never ends, does it?
It never ends. And like,
the journey is, even for you, the journey still, yeah. I love that. Who's your hero?
My hero? Oh, geez, I'll be honest with you. You know, my daughter's a big one. Yeah. Saved my life, changed my life, becoming a father.
Has it?
Yeah, you know, growing up, my brother was like my hero because he was my big brother. But in terms of the one person who's influenced the most change in my life, it's her.
Really? Yeah. It's beautiful. What's been the hardest day of your life?
The hardest day of my life was losing my daughter. When her mother and I, we had our biggest breakdown. And she left, and I had no idea where she was. And that there changed my life forever. And I told myself I never want to feel like that ever again. And you know, it was because of my shenanigans. You know, and I changed my life. I swore to myself I'll never ever feel like this ever again, and I gave my life to being a better father and a man for the rest of my life, and that's what my life's become.
What's the proudest moment of your life?
Fatherhood. Yeah.
What's one message you want every listener to take away from this conversation?
Oh, look, when I say fatherhood, I delivered my son in February on the side of the road on the way to the hospital.
Right.
We didn't make it to the hospital, so it was 5 minutes before, on the way to the hospital. My wife, she was like, he's coming. She was in the back seat. And I was like, are you sure? I looked down. I helped her pull her pants down. His head was coming out. I looked up. I looked down. His head was out. I'm like, we can make it. I looked down. I don't know if he's breathing. Right? So I'm like, I got to make a executive decision right now. I look for a spot. I'm going to pull over. I jump out the back. I open up the door. I tell her, push. He pops out straight into my arms.
What?
Yeah. So the question was the proudest moment.
What's the proudest moment?
That was probably my most proudest moment.
Wow.
That in my most challenging moment, in the most high pressure moment, I've never had a moment that's more, like his life was in my hands, right? I drove through 2 red lights. I put my hazard lights on, beeping the horn, waving cars away, from Royal Pines to Ashmore Tav. And yeah, to be able to show up the way I needed to, I think it took me 48 hours to process that.
Far out.
Yeah.
That's incredible. If you could go back, last question, if you could go back to that 17, 18-year-old Lino, what would you say to him?
Everything's going to be okay. When you talk about the fear of what, when you were younger, I can completely relate. I just wish that I had somebody, to put their hand on my shoulder and say, you know what, it's going to be okay. But I didn't have anybody to tell me those specific things. So I would go back and I would put my hand on his shoulders and I'd bring him under my wing. And I was like, you're not going to understand it, right? But everything's going to be okay.
Love that. Do you have a question for me before we wrap up?
What do you love the most about this journey that you're on?
That's a good question. What I love the most about this is the more every day I find something new that I love about myself. And I learn something new about other people. And for so long, it's quite sad, but I only realized this only a couple of years ago that I hated myself. I had the worst relationship with myself growing up. The way that I would talk about myself in my own head, but also the way that I would talk about myself to other people. I was my worst enemy. Like I would call myself so many names. Even when I was younger, like I'd be at school and I'd have a conversation with someone and I'd go home and I'd analyze what I said. And I'd be like, why did you fucking say that for? You sounded dumb or you sounded stupid. Like I was always my worst critic, always. For years, I just hated who I was. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I would do things to disrespect myself. I had no respect for myself whatsoever. I was lying to myself all the time. I just treated myself so poorly that it got to a point where I didn't want to be here anymore. And it wasn't until the point where I had to make that call of I've got to be my own best friend. Like I've got to find out what I love, what I don't love, which is just as important, and then hone in on that, and then make boundaries and standards for myself, and I don't let that slip for anything or for anyone. So in terms of, I've been sober for 18 months now, and I think not drinking and letting go of that party thing, that was a form of self-respect for me, because for so long, I'd spend money, I would say stupid things, I'd do stupid things, I'd be in silly environments that I don't need to be in. And at the end of the day, I'd wake up the next day and I'd go, why did I do that for? Like, I just felt like I had no respect for myself. I didn't have any standards to live by. And it started off with stop drinking, stop partying. I can still enjoy social situations, that sort of thing. But it got to a point where I was like, are you going to start respecting yourself? Because like the fatherhood thing, like I want to be a role model to my kids. I want to be someone that they look up to. So it started off like, honestly, just the journey of self-love and saying yes to opportunities and not being so fearful that I didn't know what I was doing. Just jumping into situations and saying yes to opportunities. And for so long, fear held me back. Even though that I achieved, some heights playing rugby, I felt like I only gave rugby about 80% of what I was capable of. And I put that down to, I was so fearful of it not working out. I was so fearful of looking like a failure. I was so scared of reaching my full potential, because if I failed, man, like, what then? Like, I've given it all, then I've failed. But if I give it 80% and I fail, at least I can use that as an excuse as like, oh, I didn't try that hard. And that's been a common theme throughout my life, where I was so afraid of trying new things. And the failure thing was because I was good at rugby, I didn't try anything else, because That was my attention, my ego boost. That's all I needed, that the external validation. I had that playing footy. Even though there are other things that lit me up, I was so afraid to try new things. So when you try new things, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be shit at it. I didn't want to seem like a failure. So the fear of failing, the fear of not being my true self, like that just held me back so much in life, where it got to a point where I just hated who I was, and I had to make a call where I don't want to be this person anymore. Like, I'm sick of being that person. I'm tired of it. I don't want to see him anymore. He's not ruined my life, but he's ruled my life for 30 years. How do I get rid of him? You know, I can't let this continue on. I don't like the person I am, you know?
I'm going to leave you with a perspective. Because you said, like, it's a bit sad. And the perspective is this. You get to be.
What do you mean I get to be?
You get to experience sadness, right? So you get to experience that sad experience, but you'll never experience it in the way that you've experienced it, the way that you have. Does that make sense? And we think about, life on a spectrum in all of its colors, in all of its depths, in its whole entirety of what it's got to offer you. That you being able to experience this. And imagine if you only really experienced life in black and white. Very little color, right? So you've got to experience fear in this depth. You've got to experience sadness in this depth.
So you're saying it's a gift?
It's a gift of your humanness, right? You've experienced what it feels like to be that deep in it, to feel like you failed or that you sucked that much, which is why you love life that much, because I know what it feels like to really, really suck. And when I thought that was something to be embarrassed about, I understand now I've been able to have a full spectrum of experience of life. At its absolutely worst. And I thought that was something unlovable.
I did.
Right. But I understand now I got to experience that. Right. And we don't go to the movies to watch the movie where everything is perfect. We go to the movies to have an experience. Life is an experience. How would you like to experience it? And you got to experience things that you'll never experience again. Right? And because you've experienced them, life is so beautiful and colorful in the way that it is for you now.
Life is the best now because of it.
Right.
And I always try to look at that and go, if I didn't experience all that, I wouldn't have the love I have for life. I wouldn't have the gratitude I have and the perspective I have on the world and how grateful I am to be here. And like to be this opportunity to sit across from you, like, I understand now that if I didn't experience that, there wouldn't be a podcast.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be sitting here today. So there are still elements of me where I've got to show compassion to that Elliot, to start forgiving him a bit more and not getting so annoyed at that version of Elliot. Because there are bits of me where I look at the past and I still shake my head and go, oh, why did you do that? You know, and then I've got to remind myself I'm sitting here because of that version of Elliot.
That's exactly right.
You know, I'm always got to thank him.
Well, it's like, because of you, I get to be me. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for being the catalyst of change in my life.
Thank you for being here and chatting with me, mate.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Mate, it's been such a pleasure, even just to getting to know you on a more personal level and sharing your insights and your wisdom, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us, brother.
All good. Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Mind Your Head. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really supports the show and helps others discover us. Don't forget to join us on Instagram and TikTok at mindyourhead.podcast.